Welcome to Legal Issues in Education, Religion in Public Schools, Church versus State. This is presented by Dawn Martese and Tara Ray. When the issue arose, Church versus State. It was the belief of our founding fathers that there be a clear separation of church and state. And in 1879, the U.S. Supreme Court landmark case Reynolds versus United States, this court case established to require the government to remain neutral and upheld Thomas Jefferson's firm belief that there should be a clear separation. The First Amendment. The First Amendment has two clauses, the Establishment Clause and the Free Exercise Clause. The Establishment Clause prohibits states from passing laws respecting an establishment of religion, aiding a religion, or showing preference for one religion over another. The Free Exercise Clause prohibits the state from interfering with individual freedoms. This clause protects the rights of citizens to choose any religious belief and/or practice. So what does this mean? States can't deny or aid religion. This is a principle of neutrality the states must uphold. Separation, church and state, and public schools. It was widely accepted practice in public schools that students recited daily prayers. This was routinely practiced until the 1960s. Engel versus Vitale. Parents challenged this practice, reciting prayer based on the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment. The courts ruled, citing that prayer was religious in nature, and therefore was a violation of the First Amendment. Controversy still exists in schools and personnel around prayer, and personnel must remain neutral. If you're an employee of the state, you must remain neutral and also not show preference for one religion over another. Prayers in school events. It is widely accepted at baccalaureate ceremonies, graduations, sporting events, prayer before the commencement of a school board meetings. This is widely accepted until about the 1980s when lower court rulings started to shift and stated this was a violation of the Establishment Clause. There still are baccalaureate ceremonies. These are permitted if they are student-run and not school personnel-run. The speech is not censored. Therefore, the First Amendment rights of expression are being honored, and therefore it is permitted. Although the clergy are not allowed to be invited or speak any longer at graduation ceremonies. So this is still a hot topic as we're in graduation season amongst many public schools. Religious displays in schools and symbols. Religious displays are prohibited unless it serves a secular purpose or historical value. Seasonal displays are considered reflections of merriment and joy and not religious. Therefore, holly berries, wreaths, those things are acceptable. Crosses, nativity scenes are not. Public schools may not erect statues or nativity scenes on school grounds. Public schools may not celebrate religious holidays, nor worship or devotional services. And this is a little video clip of a very popular controversy of if it falls underneath religious displays and in church versus state in public schools, the idea of Halloween and Halloween parades and festivals. So here's a recent clip of a current Halloween controversy. Please enjoy the video below. The Pledge of Allegiance. Is this a First Amendment violation or patriotism? Here again is a nice little video of some third graders reciting the pledge. Every morning across the United States of America, over 60 million teachers and students recite the Pledge of Allegiance. There are lots of debates surrounding this topic. I'm sure on a daily Facebook, Twitter, you can read all kinds of claims and posts about the pledge. So here are two short little cartoons. One's a Calvin and Hobbes, and excuse me, one is pointing out Calvin's dismay of having to recite the pledge and his reasonings why he thinks he shouldn't have to. Another one is a student and a teacher saying, "Are we still allowed to say under God?" And the teacher saying, "I think it's still under discussion." Again, there's all kinds of viral posts. There were things claiming that there were executive orders signed that students are no longer allowed to say the pledge in school, and all kinds of rumors and fact-checking needs to be had about the Pledge of Allegiance in public schools. The effect of this on society. Students. Students are expected daily to participate in the pledge. There's a lot of peer pressure around do you stand to say the pledge? Do you sit? What are you allowed to do? What are students' participation? What are they expected? What are they allowed? What are they not allowed? What are their rights? Are there consequences for saying the pledge or not reciting the pledge in schools? Teachers. The effect on teachers is quite a precarious position. They have to uphold district policy and also support students' rights and not, again, remain neutral. Personnel has to remain neutral for the state. What are the individual teachers' rights versus being employees, and as well as their freedom of expression? And school leadership. Schools can be sued over state mandates and can be when they're in compliance, when they are complying to certain state mandates, and therefore they also put themselves in a precarious position if someone feels they're infringing upon their personal freedoms. Political agenda, indoctrination, and roots is where the pledge comes from. And what is the political agenda behind that? School leaderships have to be very cautious and very careful that they, again, are remaining in the state of neutrality while also being sensitive to culture and other religions. It is widely known that Francis Bellamy wrote the Pledge of Allegiance to celebrate Columbus's voyage to America. And he did this, and the pledge has actually been edited and shifted over time. If you look at this, a closer look at the history of the Pledge of Allegiance, and under God, and why and where did it come from? Under God was not in Francis Bellamy's original draft of the Pledge of Allegiance that he published in a children's magazine. It became more of a political spin was put on it and added to the Pledge of Allegiance. And this is a great video giving some history of where Under God came from. Here's the timeline of the court cases and events surrounding the Pledge of Allegiance from the beginning up until today. Francis Bellamy composed and the Pledge of Allegiance to celebrate and commemorate the 400th anniversary of Columbus's arrival to the New World in 1892. In 1940, Millersville versus Gabus was a court case where a court ruled school could force Jehovah's Witnesses to salute the flag. In 1942, President Roosevelt signed a flag code law that included the pledge. In 1943, West Virginia State Board of Education versus Barnett overturned prior rulings to forcing children to comply. In 1954, President Eisenhower passes one bill adding one nation indivisible and the Under God. Newdow versus United States rules pledge unconstitutional. This is a court case where an atheist parent is challenging the Under God in the pledge. In 2004, the Supreme Court overturns that ruling, saying that he was not the individual's freedoms and that the child could not participate in the Pledge of Allegiance if they so chose. The addition of Under God in 1954. So Congress passed the addition of Under God. The addition was made to emphasize the distinction between the United States and the Soviet Union during the Cold War. So this is more where the political agenda comes in. The original version of the Pledge of Allegiance did not include these words, Under God. And here's a little video in 1939 of Porky Pig's Pledge of Allegiance. Porky's practicing the pledge, and this is well before Under God was added in the 50s. What does this mean for Pennsylvania State Code? So in Pennsylvania, State Code says all supervising officers and teachers in charge of public, private, or parochial schools shall cause the flag of the United States to be displayed in every classroom during the hours of each school day, and shall provide for the recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance for national anthem at the beginning of each school day. Or the national anthem at the beginning of each school day. I'm curious to see, what does everyone else's schools do? In my school, I know that we do both. We have the national anthem where we all stand in silence. It's a school rule that no movement is occurring during the national anthem, and then we follow that up with the Pledge of Allegiance. Again, what procedures and protocols does your school follow in regards to the Pledge of Allegiance, as well as celebrating holidays? It'd be interesting to see the variety of responses in the poll now to see, it'll generate as a word cloud to see what is the predominant practice in our surrounding area. I hope you've enjoyed this brief presentation on the Pledge of Allegiance and gained some knowledge on the history of the Pledge of Allegiance. It was quite intriguing to learn that under God was not always there. It was added later in, and that seems to be where the controversy has stirred. Thank you again for taking the time to listen.